All right, we're back for episode 31 of the Idiot Circle. I'm Mike.
I'm Fred.
I'm Rob.
Fred, why don't you introduce our special guest we have with us tonight?
Our special guest today is head football coach of Cros-Lex Football High School, the Pioneers, Mr. Mike LeGrow. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah, thanks for being on.
Coach.
Well, you're in kind of a resort area there in the Cros-Lex area. We go up there on the weekends a lot to Lexington, Port Sanilac. That's our summer stomping ground. So
You call that the Cabo San Lucas of St. Clair County, don't you?
exactly. Exactly. Well, sometimes it gets like that. Hey, what happens in Lexington stays in Lexington. You know that, right?
Okay.
That's funny.
Damn, I got to get up there more.
Or everyone's going to know within the next 5 days.
That's true as well.
That's right. Right.
So you keep it secret for the weekend, but by Monday it's all across town. So.
Oh,
damn, Coach, I got to ask the glaring question. How old are you?
I am 31.
Yeah.
Wow.
You look, you look like you're 20.
Oh, sorry. I'm 32. I'm sorry. I'm 32.
Oh, you're 32. Okay.
You missed a birthday. It's been a whirlwind. Right?
He was sick one year.
Yeah.
Yeah. COVID. You're 31 in COVID years and 32
right. I had to think about it for a second.
You know who he kind of reminds me of, Fred?
Don't even say it.
Nick Tracy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the way he enunciates, and if he was shaved, he would kind of look a little bit like him. He talks a little bit. It's our cousin. It's a good thing, Coach.
If I were to shave, I would look like I was 12.
And so does he. He's the same way. Yeah. You have to make it so that there is a disparaging look between you and the players, right? They can't think like you're one of them.
Oh, they tell me all the time, like, Coach, just shave and put on a jersey. No one will know.
There's probably somebody stupid enough in this state that would actually do it, though.
Yeah, probably.
Well, it's funny, like where I came from. I graduated from Freeland, and I remember this. It was my head coach's first year as the varsity head coach, Kevin Townsend. He's still the coach at Freeland now. And I remember the Saginaw News reporter came out, and it was like, "Hey, where's your coach?" And Coach Townsend's like, "I'm the coach." No, for real. Who's your coach? Where's the coach at? And I still joke with Coach Townsend about that today. So I kind of keep the facial hair on so I don't have that happen.
Yeah.
So the glaring question when Rob said, "Hey, do you know what he looks like?" is I was going to say he kind of looked like Matt Patricia.
Oh, are you kidding? Matt Patricia's 640 pounds. You guys built like a brick shit house. How can you compare him?
I'm just saying that's what I thought you were going to say, and they said, "Please don't say it." I'm like, no.
Hell no.
Sorry, Mike. Just as a precursor here, all of us have sworn off ever saying that man's name.
Oh,
yeah.
So we kind of go from there. So hey, big season last year.
Yep.
Yeah, you had the Townsend boys and some of the big boys coming up. You got I know Jody and Steve very well. Steve and I played some semi-pro baseball together. Know the family real well, and then hell of an athletes together, plus the daughter. But I hear you have a Studley quarterback coming up here. Kind of replace him. So why don't you kind of give us a little idea of where you came from, how'd you get the job, and then kind of give us a summary of what your team's going to look like this year.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm from Saginaw. I graduated from Freeland High School. I graduated back in 2008. From there.
Oh God, I feel so old.
You are old.
After I graduated from Freeland, I was fortunate enough to play college football at Elgin College. Nice. I was there from I graduated in 2012 from there. Won a conference championship while I was there. Was teammates with a NFL draft pick for the Detroit Lions. So that was kind of a unique thing. It was crazy. I remember walking out for my senior year to practice onto the game field for practice. We had turf then. And I remember walking out, there were the Baltimore Ravens, there was the San Francisco 49ers, and the Jacksonville Jaguar Scouts just lined up. And we're like, holy crap, this is real.
That's
Because
awesome.
no one,
You
like,
got
none
a name drop, Coach. Who was it? You drop that name.
Yeah, Chris Greenwood. He was a 6'2" corner, was about 195 pounds, ran a 4.34 40. Like I tell you, like
crap.
had a 45-inch vertical, was an absolute freak.
Now we know why the NFL was interested.
Yes, right. Well, it's kind of weird how he kind of felt to us. D3's weird. Like you get like this mishmash of great high school talent, and sometimes you get the ones that fall from grace from like the D1 schools or D2 schools.
Yeah.
Like for example, my quarterback, while I was there, name was Spencer Krause. He had a scholarship offer to Stanford. His senior year blew out his knee, and he ended up at Albion College.
Oh man.
Oh, that's crazy.
Wait. Albion College is a great school, right?
Oh yeah, no, it's a great school. He was by far he was the definition of student athlete. Like I think he lives out in the like Seattle area now. Does a lot of like work with like whatever. He went into business.
Yeah.
He's very successful for what he does.
Yeah.
But the weird Elgin connection was that his dad played at Michigan, and Michigan's offensive line coach was our offensive line coach my first 2 years at Albion when Bo Schembechler was there.
Oh, wow.
And so that was one of those weird, like I grew up a Michigan fan. I originally wanted, obviously everyone wants to go to Michigan or Michigan State or whatever when they're first thinking about going to college, but obviously
nobody wants to go to Notre Dame, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Miami, any of those schools.
Not from Michigan.
Oh, okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
And so for
Alabama.
me, I thought the next best thing or the next thing was, well, that was Bo Schembechler's offensive line coach. That's the next best thing for me. And I could just say,
Mallory, who would have that been?
That,
let's see if Fred gets it. Wait. Let's see if Fred gets it. Fred, who was it?
I wouldn't know. I don't know if it's I wouldn't know at that point. I would not know.
Paul Schudel.
Yeah. He was probably one of probably 2 or 3 offensive line coaches, Rob. So as far as like my dad coached with Bill McCartney, and he was on.
He doesn't know who Bill McCartney
and Bill McCartney was the coach at Colorado, won a national championship there.
Yeah.
My dad coached with him at Divine Child.
Okay.
So it doesn't hurt when Gary Danielson's your quarterback.
Right. And
you don't want to listen to him doing an SEC game, but he was a good quarterback. Yeah.
But I could say something like we were talking about whatever, and he said something to me like, "Oh, you block just like Les Miles." Like, and I was like,
is that good or bad?
I was like, I looked at him like LSU Les Miles? Like we talking about the same Les Miles?
The Mad Hatter.
Right. Yeah. And I was like, and then I look, I'm like, okay, that's the guy. Are we talking a good thing or a bad thing? And he was like, great football mind, terrible guard. And I was like, thanks, man. Thanks.
Yeah. Terrible time management. Hopefully your time management in under 2 minutes is better than that's what we're hoping for.
Right. But I get to say I shared the same offensive line coach as Les Miles, which is kind of a weird thing to think about it. Yeah. Because of the age differences and stuff like that, but it was kind of unique. Lloyd Carr would show up to our games every once in a while because of with Coach Udell and Coach Carr knowing each other, obviously. So that was always a unique thing, that there was always that weird Albion Michigan connection for some reason.
Now, when you get in the heat of things and the team's down and stuff, you're not yelling at those guys. I almost played with Les Miles. Get out there and kick ass.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
Well, you should.
No. He's got the right thing going on up there. So
yeah.
we know. Yeah. Coach, you know why you're on the program, really? I mean, obviously you're the football coach up there, right? The head football coach, but we had Brady on from Stuck on Sports.
Yep.
And he raved about you. And he talked about, Fred said it, we're a bunch of Marine City guys. And we promised Fred we're going to keep the waters warm and gentle for you today because we're a bunch of Mariners. But we understand you are doing things now which our previous head coach did to build that program.
Mhm.
So we really respect what we've heard, and we just want to understand and listen to you talk about that.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but how I got here is kind of a unique. It's the, I guess, obviously the road less traveled, I guess, is the best way to put it. Because I graduated from college, like I said, 2012, graduated with a degree in kinesiology, exercise science, and didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life at that point. I graduated, like, all right, cool, here's your piece of paper, good job, like you did it. And so I went home in Freeland, and I was kind of like, just like, what do I want to do with myself? Well, Saginaw Valley was, 10 minutes down the road for me, and I asked, I was like, oh, I really like, you know, football. How do I still do football? And I went to my high school coach, Coach Townsend, who is currently still the coach at Freeland. And I was like, hey, how can I help out? And kind of, and that's just kind of how it worked from there. Because I was always around the program, because in the winters and in the summers I didn't have money to pay for a private gym or whatever, so he let me work out when I was home. And by doing that, I kind of got the itch to kind of want to coach because I've been around the kids, and the kids would ask me things because I was one of a handful, or I was actually the first kid that Coach Townsend had go off to go play college football. And so he wanted me to around like, hey, this is what happens when you work hard, this, that, the other. So I was like the example kind of deal. And so I was like, well, how do I get into like this, like full time? Like how do I become like, I was like, essentially, how do I become like you, Coach Townsend? And he goes, well, the easiest way to do it is become a teacher, because odds are if you're a teacher, they'll hire you. If you're all things equal, they'll hire the teacher before they hire the non-teacher. And so I was like, well, it looks like I'm going to go to Saginaw Valley to go get my teaching certification. Uh, and so I started doing that. And I remember while coaching my first year, I ran into this weird bet that I lost while I was there. And that bet was like the kids were like, "Oh, Coach LeGrow, you should go try out for the arena football team here in Saginaw." And I was like, whatever, like what, guys, I'm out of shape, I'm old, I'm washed up, that kind of deal.
Kind of like the Arena Football League.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, yeah, cool, we can whatever. Okay, you guys go 7-2. I'll try out. And at that time, the TVC Central it was still like a huge powerhouse that it was with like the Elmas was still dominant. You had Swan Valley, Bullet Creek,
Right.
Hemlock, all those big, Class B powers in Saginaw County all at once conference. And I was like, this is a 5-4 team at best for my JV team. Well, we go 9-0 and murder everyone by like 42 points. And so I'm like, oh my God. Like I was happy about it, but at the same time, I was like, I got to go get back in shape. I got to get after it. That kind of deal. Tried out, made the team, made a 3-year career out the deal. Had a couple of workouts with the Canadian Football League teams while I was there. Got to say cool things like I tackled Juice Williams one time.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
So I thought
Illinois quarterback.
yeah. I this is still very much. I was playing nose tackle because you have to go both ways, and it jammed into the center. I saw him take off, and I chucked my block, and I ran up downfield at him, grabbed his knees, spun, got him, and I was like, popped up. I go, holy crap! I tackled Juice Williams. And he pops up. He goes, what? I go, dude, I used to watch you on TV when I was in high school. And he was like, he just shakes his head. He goes, I'm getting old, man. And he walks right back to his huddle.
You didn't ask him for an autograph or anything like
No,
that.
I did get a picture afterwards. I was like, I got to get a picture, man. I really do. And I go, I coach kids. I go, this is like, no one's going to believe me.
That's crazy.
I'm here because of a bet, Juice. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, I lost a bet.
Yeah.
I made 3 years up. Like I got like in the like those arena leagues were such a grab bag of talent. Like I remember I was in the huddle, and it like just kind of dawned on me while I was in there. I was like, guy to my right started 2 years at Purdue. Guy to my left was like a 3-year starter at some MAC school. My quarterback was Drew Brees' third string quarterback in a training camp like 2 years ago. Like what I'm all these things, like I don't belong here. What am I doing here? And like the guy next to me is like 6'6", 315. The other guy next to me is like 6'5", 335. I'm sitting there at 6'2", like 285, and trying to hold on, playing center. I remember my first start was against some guy that was like a 3rd round draft pick out of LSU, just trying to hold on.
Jamarcus Russell.
Jamarcus Russell.
Speaking of the SEC and large quarterbacks, the hefty lefty was in our league as well.
Oh,
really?
Renzen.
Yep.
Renzen.
From
Oh
Kentucky.
yeah, from Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Yeah,
Kentucky.
he played for
Jared.
the
His name was Jared too.
yeah. Northern Kentucky River Monsters is who he played with. Their uniform looked like fish scales. It was terrible looking.
How big was he when he played with you guys? Was he like 285, 290?
Bigger than him at center.
No, he was larger than me. He was larger than me. He was probably pushing about 330.
Oh my
Holy
God.
crap.
That's around Fred's weight.
Shit.
Like he was just a big dude. But just like I said, the grab bag of talent that was in that league. Like he had guys that I remember we had because our owner of our team was Stu Schweigert, who played at Purdue, was an All-American at Purdue. Third round draft pick for the Raiders. He's from Saginaw. He's from Saginaw Heritage, and his
son play basketball?
I have no idea. He does. He's not. He's younger. He's a younger guy. He only played. How old is Stu? Probably early 40s, maybe.
Okay.
But he, I just knew him because I coached at Hemlock for a while, and he lived in Hemlock, so I just knew of him, that kind of deal.
The thriving metropolis of Hemlock.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember going to Stu's house, and he didn't know how to use the huddle football program.
Yep.
So I was trying to teach him, and while I was doing that, I was just constantly picking his brain. He gave me all these kind of tidbits, because I was an offensive lineman. I knew just offensive line stuff at that time, and he completely told me different things, situational things, and how to prepare a game plan from a defensive point of view. And I remember he goes, Mike, I would break down hours of film study and just look at situational thing. If I can get one pick because I watched a play that was on the right hash and they were throwing it to the boundary on this down and this distance, he goes, I knew for a fact that ball was going to come here, and if I knew that and I can make one play in a game, that changes the game. It comes down, he goes, it literally comes down in the NFL to one or two plays. And that if you can make that one or two play, you're going to get millions and millions of dollars. Wow. And to me, that was I was like, wow, that's I never thought about it that way. I go no, you have to go there and make every play, but everyone makes plays in the NFL. Are you making that one or two plays that change the game at that point?
Right.
Good point. Yeah.
Coach, it sounds like you're really a good self-evaluator, especially going back to your playing days and hearing you say, I wasn't able to do this here, but I was lucky enough to go do this. But obviously, right now, you have found your passion because it's apparent you know how to build a high school football team. Talk about the process of that and your passion.
Well, the person that I have to really contribute to that is Adam Clark, who is Hemlock High School's football coach. I was at Freeland for 2 years, and then I went off to try my own varsity job as an offensive line coach for the first time at Clio High School. If you know anything about Clio High School doesn't win football games,
right?
At all. And we went there. We went 3-6. Should have went 5-4. And you thought the world was being set on fire. We're in the front sports page of USA Today because Clio was 2-0 to start the season.
Oh wow!
And they finished 2-6 or something.
So we went 3-6. We lost one game by a 2-point conversion, and then we lost another game by I think 6. So we were 8 points away from going to the playoffs essentially. But that's also a team that didn't win 5 years before we got there.
Hey, Coach, though, before you go further, though, what did you learn from that experience about keeping young men, driven in a path when they're not winning? I mean, what was that like?
You had to fight the. You could see it when you're at a program that struggles. You'll see as soon as something negative happens, it tends to waterfall instantly. It's. oh, here, like you see it, like you see the body language is instantly drop, like, oh, here we go again. And I remember during the first game we were playing Mount Morris, they were like, you can tell like the people in the stands were waiting for that moment of like, when's the bad going to happen? When's the bad going to happen?
Because they're so used to it.
Yeah, right. And like, oh, things are going too well kind of deal. And so for what I learned there is just like you had to build it in the weight room. Todd Richards was the coach there for that 1 year, and he was only there for 1 year because for whatever reason we don't know why we were just told not to. Our contracts weren't renewed after 1 year. For I guess we won too much.
They weren't used to that, coach.
Is that what the Lions are so bad? Maybe
That's what I was just gonna say. I said was Quinn after he got fired, was he like the athletic director at Clio? Said, hey, you guys are winning too much. We gotta
slow that down a little bit.
You're 9-7. You gotta go.
But I learned about while I was there, I learned about the sport of powerlifting at the high school level, and how, I mean, let's be real. A lot of your football players, they don't play other sports in the winter.
Right.
You know, your offensive linemen ain't going to go out to go play basketball. They might go wrestle, but not all of them.
They might throw a shot put though in track.
Right, in track or go play baseball or whatever. But
yeah,
a lot of them don't do anything in the winter. So we're like, well, let's do powerlifting. And there's actually a pretty good, it's a pretty big growing sport. The MHS PLA is the Association, Michigan High School Powerlifting Association. And I learned like if you want to compete at that high school level, especially, that's the difference maker is getting kids to compete while seeing what other kids, because I remember after Clio, I went to Hemlock and I started the powerlifting program there. And you know how it is. You'll sit there and have kids think they're like, oh, I can bench like 200 pounds. I'm super strong. Yeah, go find out what that kid from the other school across the street does, and he's bench pressing 300 pounds. You're not that strong. Like it is the greatest humbling thing that I think that there is for kids who think that, oh, I'm the biggest, baddest kid at this this small school. I don't need to get any better because I'm the best. And then you go find out that there's like 30 other kids that are stronger than you that weigh exactly your weight. Mm-hmm. So I think that was the eye opener for me at Clio. It's like, oh, we got to compete because kids are going to get complacent because they're the strongest on their own team. They think that they're going to be the strongest all the time. And that's not always the case.
Well, you figure out who the real competitors are too. If they start to do something they're not used to and getting into a sport they're not used to, their true colors show, I'm sure. Right.
And like I said, that's what I learned. And I learned while I was at Clio with Todd Richards is that, he would listen. Like he trusted me enough to make adjustments with the offensive line. I remember we were playing Holly. We won 7-0. And we were it was one of those like 3 yards in the cloud dust at a time because we were running the wing tee then. And because that's why I ran in high school. So that's why he hired me, because I knew how to block it. I knew how to do that kind of stuff. And I was like, I made the simplest adjustment. And then we busted out like a 50-yard touchdown on like an inside trap. And it was because, I was able to communicate while he was coaching. I made the adjustment like, hey, this is going to break the game open. And then just like Stu Schweigert told me, sometimes it takes one play.
Yep.
And that was their play. And it's one of those things like I really felt the culture shift. We were playing Central Malcolm at Central Malcolm week 2. We were down 14. Like the wheel started to fall off. And you could see the kids' body language, like as Central Malcolm ran like the veer, but out of gun, like the gun veer stylish offense, and they were just 3 yards, and there's nothing we could have done about it. And then we get the ball back, and we're down 13, and we were like, well, what do we do? Okay, let's just try to figure it out. And we march it down the field. We score. This was like with like 60 seconds left maybe when we scored, so we're down I think 7, and so we're like, well, got onside kick it. Our middle linebacker was our kicker, and we did that You guys might know what I'm talking about. If I say the Frankenmuth kickoff, do you guys know what I'm talking
Oh,
about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where literally it's like the guy stands there like this, and then they whistle blows, he puts his hand down, and then all 11 kids run directly at you. Well, our middle linebacker was like 6'1", 230, and he kicked it right at the as Coach Leach would say, squib kick it to a fat kid. So he did that, and he went to go pick it up, and like it hits him in the hands, and all of a sudden a middle linebacker running full speed literally runs through this kid's face,
A truck.
and then the ball just pops up instantly, and kids fall on it, and we're like, all right, cool, we got 50 seconds. What are we going to do here? We have a sophomore quarterback, and it's 4th and 10 at this point, and there's only like 8 seconds left in the game. Boom, let's play hike. And we have like what I would call, if you are for Madden person, we ran 4 verticals with that tight end dragging across.
Yeah.
Right.
And
oh God, think about that.
right. I was like, that's the best way to describe the play. It was
Yeah.
it was 4 verticals on Madden, and quarterback gets flushed out of the pocket. We're like, oh here, like, saw the first start of his career, and he's out there just completely freaking out on the scramble, and just kind of turns his arm and just like, he's like, oh, he's down there somewhere, just chucks it as far as he can. Kid catches it, makes 1 juke, and he scores. So now we're down by 1, and we had a timeout. So we're like, everyone's freaking out. We call timeout. I'm up in the booth. Todd's on the headset, and he goes, what do you guys think? And I go, well, scared money doesn't win. We shouldn't be in this thing anyways. Go for 2.
Nice.
So we go for 2. We ran power eye toss sweep to the right, and our sophomore running back trucks a kid at the pylon, dives over, and gets in, and we walk off with the win. Like, literally, it was a walk-off win. I've never experienced a walk-off win in my life. And the kids are going nuts. And at that point, they finally were like, we can play football. We're always going to be in it, kind of deal. And that's what I learned. Like, you never give up. You always act like you're going to, you have a chance at it, kind of deal. So when I got the job at Hemlock, I was able to get back into the TVC where I played in. And I remember being interviewed by Adam Clark, and his question is, well, what's your goals? What do you want to be like in 5 years? And I was like, well, I'd like to be a head coach. And he goes, all right, your training starts now. And I was like, all right, cool, whatever. And so I started off as just like the varsity offensive line coach, and that's all I was. And I say that like, oh, I was just an offensive line coach. Like, it's
that's
just,
it. You started
That's
it.
right.
We're games 1 there, Mike.
Oh, I know. And
in the trenches there, buddy. So he was
Well-
loving you. He was loving you for sure.
Oh, well, while I was there, I think I had 3 or 4 all-state linemen
Wow.
in my 5 years I was there. So I was pretty successful at it. And as things went on, I was given more and more responsibilities. Actually end up turning into a job for me. I had a teaching job within the building. So I'm really grateful. But that was one of those parts where I was kind of like skidding by. I was subbing at some places. I was like a part-time worker at an autism center in Bay City. I was kind of like, I was 24 years old. I was trying to figure my life out, kind of
Right.
deal. And he kind of like,
still trying to figure his life out.
Yeah, he's 54.
Me too. I'm still trying to figure it out
Yeah.
myself. And and he started like we would have our first season. I think we went 3-6, but that was with the team that I think went 1-8 the year before. So we're learning how to play football. I remember that game we were playing Frankenmuth, or that year we were playing Frankenmuth week 1, and that game
At their place or at your place?
at their place.
Of course.
So year 1, week 1, we're playing Frankenmuth, and we get the ball first. Third play into the season, starting running back blows out his ACL non-contact.
Oh,
And we're talking, this is an all-league, first-team all-league kid. So big blow. Also was our starting safety. Our quarterback was our corner, and we're trying to figure out, like, what do we do at defense? Because the safety had so many responsibilities because of the triple option attack that they run. So we call timeout. We're literally trying to patchwork this kind of deal within the in the moment. And our
Is this
quarterback,
where you suit up?
No, this is not where I
Oh, yeah.
stood up. No, but I'm just telling like this is what I knew like things were going to be special at Hemlock while I was there.
Yeah.
And the kid's name was Gabe Knaus. He was our quarterback, and it was our starting corner as well. He goes, I can play free safety. And we're like, but you're a corner. He goes, I know what I'm doing. I goes, I listened all week. I know what the responsibilities are. He goes and has 36 tackles.
Wow.
Holy crap.
shit.
Wow.
36?
36 and a pick six.
Is that
It
some
was
kind of
in your son-
record
did
in a
you-
game?
Jesus, is he a Bobby Boucher award?
Like I kid you not, it was the most insane game I've ever seen in my life from a defensive side. We lost by 13. We should have been blown out by 40 if you asked anybody in town that day. And he was the reason why. He was a starting quarterback. I think he ran for a touchdown, threw 2 more, and got a pick 6.
Wow.
And
36 to, I mean, how many plays they run? Like 50, 60, and he got
and
36
he was in
tackles?
all in all of them because in their offense, who do they not account for? What do all power run teams not account for in the blocking scheme?
You're asking the
Free
wrong
safety.
people.
It's a free
it's a
safety.
safe-
No,
It's
you're
a
Safety.
free
safety.
safety, especially if he gets past the first wave of
Right.
Exactly.
you know.
So-
then
so
it
we're-
comes down to
so
the
we're running
linebackers
one
and the
high.
safeties.
But we're running one high, so it was check A gap. If it's not a give, go to B gap for the quarterback, or go to slide to the quarterback. If it's not the quarterback, go run the alley, hit, and he did that nonstop. They could not get it right. And I remember then we played them the next year at our place. We lost 36-0, I think it was, but Franklin did not have a play over 4 yards the entire game, except for one that was like an 80-yard pop pass. Everything else was literally it was death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Wow.
And
I like that. I like that analogy.
Yeah.
1,000 paper cuts.
but the difference there, Gabe still had I think 12 or 14 tackles. But the problem is they now accounting for him in the blocking scheme. You saw the adjustment instantly,
Mhm.
and he ended up going to play safety at Michigan Tech. Great athlete. But as I grew there, got more responsibilities. I was then given I was the head strength and conditioning coach there. Then I made the powerlifting team, which really was eye-opening to a lot of the kids. I'm big on data. I'm big on holding kids accountable. And because you'll sit there, especially with multi-sport athletes, because you'll have a lot of coaches out there that are like, oh, my kid can't lift during X season because whatever made up reason that doesn't make sense anymore in 2022. And so we were really good because we were in the building holding our kids accountable and going to the weight room. If you were in season, like if you were is winter and you played basketball or wrestled, you had to come in twice a week. So in the TVC, basketball was played on Tuesdays and it was played on Fridays. So the basketball players came in on Wednesdays and Saturday mornings. Gotta lift ups. Wrestlers wrestled on Wednesdays and Saturdays, so they lifted on Mondays and Thursdays, and then everybody else lifted 4 days a week. And I would record this data. I had longevity data or data from over courses of years and seasons. So all 4 years I was there, I was able to track each kid and their growth throughout the program. And after Clark saw that, he goes, "You're completely in control of all the strength and conditioning stuff. You got this." And I was like, well, I would hope so. This is who I went to college for. And in my second year, I was promoted to the JV head coach, and was finally given the chance to call the plays, call my own offense. And the beauty of this, what I will always remember, we were playing Michigan Lutheran Seminary. We were buried on our own 3-yard line, and I called a bubble screen. Because on film, they lined up a certain way. I'm like, well, the bubble's there. The bubble's there. It's going to be there no matter what. And then our kid throws it. Kid gets, decides to dance and gets clobbered, fumbles the ball, and now it's 6 points for the other team. Mm-hmm. And Coach Clark goes, "So what you learned, Mike?" And I was like, "What?" I go, and then I was like, "Well, it was there." You go, "You watch film, it's there." Da 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 da. He goes, "No. What you learned, Mike?" I was like, well, if you didn't want me to call that play, why did you allow me to call it? And he goes, well, because here's the thing. No one's going to remember this play in 10 years from a JV football game, but you will.
Good point.
That is a good
See,
point.
and Mike, you know, it's funny you're bringing all these coaches from your past, what led you up to doing what you're doing right now. We just had a conversation with Darren Letson last night, and other coaches, and how they talk about what they experience with the coaches throughout their progress, and to where they are now, and very, very similar situations. And the funny thing is most of those people that take it that way and have a good experience and pick their brains and learn from them end up being phenomenal head coaches at the varsity level. And you know, right now, from all the stuff that you've just told us, I mean, I can see why Cros-Lex. I mean, they had Keglevitz at one time, who was a great coach and ended up going to the west side of the state. And I think he was at Rockford and was unbelievable. I mean, they've had other coaches that were okay, semi good, not their program struggled a little bit. And all of a sudden they bring somebody in like you, somebody that's non-existent from the area. Nobody knows who you are, but and establish, you know, especially up there, you know, you got a lot of the farm boys up there. They're all, I mean, they have nothing to do but play sports. And and that to me, especially when there's such a pride in that area for football as well, because Cros-Lex is always been one of the hardest hitting football teams that I've ever seen. My dad and I went and saw them play Deckerville back in the 90s. We couldn't even get to close to this the field because it was jam packed. But you could hear the hitting.
Mhm.
I mean, it was my dad was like, who was a football coach from 1967 all the way up to 1995, and he said it's probably one of the hardest hitting football games that he heard because he couldn't see it because it was too far away because you
Mhm.
only see
Fred,
half of the field.
what you're just describing kind of makes me think. So take us into that moment where you're going to be announced as the head football coach up there. In my mind, I see the Hoosier movie at Hickory High School, the farmers all gathered together in the room. You're the new guy coming in from the outside. Walk us through that a little bit, Coach. What did it look like? Are we far off in that description or what?
Yeah, you're a little far off on that. The hiring process was a weird one because I thought I was going to stay at Hemlock for another year or two. I mean, I was slowly starting to get the keys to the car, I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah.
I was
Keys to
essentially,
the mansion. Yeah.
yeah, I was, you know, basically I was told if you stay here, you know, you're the head coach in waiting, this, that, the other, and I was like, this is cool. What, you know, whatever. I kind of like, I mean, I'm from the area. My family's from that area. That kind of like my grandma went to Hemlock High School. So I was like, I'm good with being here kind of deal. And I mean, the staff was great. I mean, working there was great. Admin was fantastic. And, you know, I was basically being promoted to the offensive coordinator, which if you know Adam Clark, he's an offensive guy. And if he trusts you with his offense, he trusts you. Um, Mostly the reason why I trust me, my first game ever calling the offense was against Ithaca, and we won 30-6. And that was
Wow.
when Ithaca was, you know, winning
Pretty
everything by
Yeah,
50
they're a
points.
great,
Yeah,
great program.
they're a great program.
Right. But the game that was the one that they broke their like 12-year conference winning streak, well, I called the offense for that game. So that
Wow.
was my, I guess that was my quote unquote coming out party as a coordinator.
Yeah.
And you know, I was kind of person like, you know, I played in college and I played, you know, I ran the wing team while I was in high school. I ran 3 different offenses while I was at Albion. I played in arena football and I learned like this whole, you know, air raid, run and shoot kind of stuff. And that all just merged into how I call my offenses. I'm not afraid if you sit there and you'll see 5 wide receivers one play and also you see 3 tight ends, 2 fullbacks, and we're running the ball. Like I have no problem switching up on people because that they can't get a read on you. And when the season was done, you know, I just recently got married. I just recently had a kid. So you know, I was working part-time at the alternative high school, and I was like, I got to get a job. Like I get a full-time job somewhere. And I knew the gym teacher was at Hemlock was close to retiring, and I was like, I could probably just hold on for a little bit. That's no big deal. And then he didn't retire, and then it was the next year, and then he didn't retire, and I was like, oh God, like I can't hold on, man. Like I got it. So I told
Sounds like Bill Parcells.
right. And so I saw I applied to a couple places. I saw Cros-Lex, and I was like, oh, I know where Cros-Lex is at. And no one ever says that, right? Because it's outside of the Thumb area.
Right.
The reason why I know where Cros-Lex is because of powerlifting.
Oh, yeah, that's
nice.
true. They have a solid powerlifting.
And I
program.
remember the running joke with my wife with powerlifting is whenever we went to a meet, because my wife would help me out, kind of deal. The joke was, oh, it's quiet here. Cros-Lex must not be here, because their girls were always screaming in each other's faces while they're lifting, and it was joking. Like it's weird. Like I ended up at Cros-Lex and I absolutely love it now, and it's, because it's just what it is. And I remember I saw the name. I was like, oh, Cros-Lex. They have a lot of power. They have a lot of strong kids. Like it instantly was what walked to my brain. And I go, the lifting culture is already there. It's already set in place. So I applied, and the interview process took forever. I applied probably around Thanksgiving. Had my first interview somewhere shortly after that.
Who'd you interview with?
I don't know. There was like 14 or 15 people in there.
Was it on a tractor?
No, it was in the media center. Because
he wasn't at Ubley, you dumbass. He was at Cros-Lex.
Because I've never interviewed before. Like I literally every time I apply places, like I applied to like other schools, obviously like in years before. I was like, I'm gonna take a shot in the dark, apply somewhere at Texas. Got a couple calls back, but it was nothing like one time I applied to I think it was Klein's ISD down in like Texas, 4,000 kids in the high school. It was part-time teaching, and you were the offensive line coach down there. And it was like $60K to teach 3 strength and conditioning classes and coach football. That's all you were doing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, I'll apply to that.
And 31,000 people show up every Friday.
Right. Right. And I get called back, and someone was like, yeah, it's going to be really hard to tell people that someone from Michigan can do this better than someone from Texas. I was like, point taken. All right, so we'll move on to the next.
Yeah.
You just pretend like you're Nick Saban and get a Southern accent like he does.
Or Brian Kelly.
Or Brian Kelly. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah. But
jeez.
Well, Nick started it. Nick is from like West Virginia and then lived most of his life in Buffalo.
Right.
And then he always, when he was at Michigan State, talked just like us. And now you hear him talk this like this.
You do that pretty good. You're down in Florida. Close enough. Redneck.
So when you interviewed, hey Mike, when you interviewed, who was the athletic director at Cros-Lex at that time?
It was Chris Gallagher.
Okay. And who was the principal?
Fred,
Kyle Wood.
Fred, did you play semi-pro baseball with him?
I was gonna say, Fred's played a lot of semi-pro baseball with everybody. It seems like.
Well, that's just the way it is. But I'm just wondering that, because Tom Hopper was up at Cros-Lex, and before he retired, and I know Kevin Miller was up there for a little while, and I was just wondering if any one of those guys were involved in it.
Nipsey Russell was up there for a while.
Nope. No, because
Flip Wilson was up there.
I'll say I've never interviewed.
Scatman,
right?
Small.
So
for a little bit.
So I asked, I asked my head coach. I asked Adam Clark. I was like, hey, what to expect? I asked my principal. I asked my AD at Hemlock, and they're like, oh, it probably should just be a principal, probably an AD, probably a staff member, and probably a coach from within the community, or from the staff, and then probably a community member. I was like, oh, okay, so 5 people. So I make my materials. Like, oh, okay, I'm gonna make my materials for 5 people, move on, kind of deal. So I walk into the media center, and there's 15 people staring at me.
Wow.
And I'm just like, oh, like completely caught off guard.
Awkward.
And you didn't have the beard then, right? You look like a young boy, right? You were still.
It was a lot trimmed. It was trimmed up a little bit more.
But you had the beard, but it was trimmed.
Yes, yeah. So I'm sitting there and I'm just staring at 15 pairs of eyes at me, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to be fun. And they had a stopwatch, like a timer going on. So like when you ask you a question, boom, go.
Really?
Wow.
And I was like, oh, all right.
Was this a 40-yard dash or an interview?
I have no
Jesus
idea.
Christ.
Jeez.
So, but I remember,
It's like a school board meeting.
I remember. Well, I was looking at it and I was like, okay, let's see who. And they started like introducing who was on there, and there was a coach, there was a parent, there was the superintendent, the principal, the AD, there was 2 teachers, there was
Catholic priest.
The janitor.
there was like one of the youth football directors at the time. There was, I think, there was a bunch of other people. Like I
Chief
can't
of
remember,
police, perhaps.
probably. but I remember like looking at him, like I remember I interviewed and I walked back and I was like, is that normal? And Adam was like, no. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, whatever. I go, so what's that tell you? And he goes, well, either there's a lot.
What'd you learn, Mike?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah,
What
he
did you
came
learn?
back at you with that. Jesus, how many times you gonna ask me that question?
Your whole life. What'd you learn, Mike?
Right. And he goes, well, it's one of 2 things. Either everyone really cares about football and they all want to have a piece of the pie, or nothing's going right up there and they're all trying to fix it. And so I was like, okay, well, let's figure this out. So I interview a second time. They brought me back, and it was like me and 2 others. I think it was like 3 finalists kind of deal. And as soon as we walked in there, I go, hey, listen, before we go any further, if you do not have a job for me within the building, I cannot take this. So was completely transparent with it. I go, I'll come out and talk to you guys about football all you want. I go, I don't mind the 2-hour drive from Saginaw to come out here to talk football. I go, I could do that forever. And I go, but I'm going to be transparent and say, I'm not going to be able to get this job unless you have a teaching job with it in the building. And they're like, oh, okay, we'll figure it out. So I go home. It's now Christmas break. I get a call on the day after Christmas from the AD, and he goes, hey, Mike, just want to give you a heads up. He goes, we really, really like you. We just don't have a teaching job for you.
Oh,
And I was like,
okay.
all right, whatever, that, I get it. I appreciate you guys let me know. He goes, is there any chance you'll take the job without the teaching job? And I said, no, there's no chance. I go, dude, I got a wife and kid here. I gotta do what I gotta do for me. And I go, plus I go, then I have a house I got to pay for. I got all these bills I got to pay for, student loans kind of deal. And he goes, okay, he goes, thanks. He goes, you're great. He goes, you are going to be a great head coach one day. And I was like, well, okay, cool. I'd like to be a head coach now, but whatever. So, so
nice little dig, Mike. I like that. That's a little dig.
Right. So we go back to work. It's like the first of the year. And I'm in my classroom and I get a phone call from the Croswell area. It says Croswell. And I was like, all right.
You guys do whatever you want. I got to take this call.
I was like, I got to take this. And so I walk in the hall and they're like, hey, it was Mr. Gallagher. And he goes, hey, Mike, Chris Gallagher, are you still interested in the coaching job out here? And I was like, well, do you have a teaching job? Because I was pretty clear about this. And he goes, yes, we have a teaching job.
Yeah, funny, something just opened up.
Right. And I was like,
they went and fired somebody.
Mrs. Gallagher, she wasn't working out.
And then obviously I was like, so you guys got a PE job? Like, sweet, let's do it. And they're like, oh, no, you're going to be teaching credit recovery. So I was like, okay. So I was kind of,
what's credit recovery?
Yeah, what is
that?
I mean, like credit recovery, like we would do as adults?
Like credit report or something?
No.
Are you talking about credit recovery where kids might be lacking a couple classes?
Oh,
graduate?
Like making
Yeah.
up credits.
Yep.
Okay.
So you're almost like a counselor almost.
so yeah. So I had a lot of, so all my classes were kids that failed a class. So I had to teach.
Perfect.
So I had to.
Oh, you get
so
the dummies.
You get the
No, I'm
Get
gonna
you
say
in
no.
the idiot circle. And now you're still, you can't get away from
You've
it.
come full circle.
Right. So the class was essentially like I would teach them academic skills,
Yeah.
that kind of deal. And
2 + 2 = 4, that kind of stuff.
so but then the pandemic hit, and so
Right.
I'm like, so I'm still living in Saginaw. I was legitimately driving from Croswell to Saginaw pretty much every day until my defensive coordinator allowed me to sleep on his couch. Mike Sheridan. Mike Sheridan has never met me a day in his life. He calls me, goes, "You can sleep on my couch."
Wow.
And so
That's
I was
awesome.
sleeping on his couch, throughout the week, and I go home on the weekends, drive back Sunday night or Monday morning, and just kept rotating that from January to March, 13th, I think it was. And I was like, well, how do I install? So obviously my first football season is 2020, and I'm trying to figure out, are we going to have a football season or we're not? How do I do this? So I'm trying to figure this all out in the process. And we're having, I'm trying to do Zoom meetings and this, that, the other. But I forgot one thing. I was doing entry, like how you do an entry interview kind of deal for I was me and all my kids doing one-on-ones kind of deal.
Yeah.
Right.
And the first one that signed up was Jake Townsend.
Great kid.
Great kid.
What a phenomenal kid.
And I remember, and he walked in, and it was during lunch. And I was like, "Hey, I'm Coach LeGrow. Nice to meet you." And he goes, "I'm Jake Townsend." I was like, "All right, Jake. I have a couple questions I want to ask you. What grade are you?" "Oh, I'm going to be a junior." "All right, write that down." And I was like, "All right, what position do you want to play?" And he goes, "I will play quarterback." And I was like, "Okay."
Everybody's going to say the same thing that comes in here, right? They
Right.
all
Like,
wanna play quarterback.
Jimmy
Right.
Chickwood, huh?
But
He was a Jimmy Chickwood. I mean,
but
that family is just unbelievable.
the thing is, Jake didn't play quarterback at all pretty much in high school. He was a receiver.
Right.
And so he was like, "I will play quarterback." And I was like, "All right, well, we'll throw you in the mix. Let's see what happens." And I saw him play basketball. We went to a game because I was introduced at a basketball game, and I saw him just absolutely just control the floor as a sophomore. And I was like, "That's a quarterback."
You ain't kidding.
Yeah, you see a kid that just completely controls the game on the court, and you're like, that's going to translate very well to the field, and it did. So we're doing all these Zoom meetings, and he's constantly messaging me on my phone, like, "Hey, because I had all my Hemlock film, and I would give it to the kids to watch the huddle, and he was constantly texting me questions like, "Hey, when we run this play, if I, what happens if they do this? Do I look here?" This kind of stuff. So he was completely bought in. And when we were allowed to get going, he just ran away with it. It was a no doubt kind of
Lefty
deal.
too, right?
Yep, left-handed. So everything had to be reprogrammed in my brain. I'm currently reprogramming it back to right-handed people at the moment. And I remember we're trying to load up because we're like, "All right, we're gonna have football," and then the fourth day we're like, "We're no longer having football," and then 2 weeks later we're having football again. So I'm in this whirlwind of emotions going on with it. So it's probably everyone else. I remember it got canceled, and I was you can ask my wife. I was the saddest person in the world probably that day. I'm sure a lot of people were, but I was especially sad because I finally had a chance to do exactly what I wanted to do, and it was now being put on pause. And when it came back and it was happening for real again, I was like, "All right, we're going to jump at this." And no one thought what I did was going to happen. I was the guy from out of town. I was running a different style of offense. We don't huddle. That's the thing with us. We don't huddle.
Wow.
You can ask every single one of my kids, and you ask them what our opinion on the huddle is. They're all going to say they're stupid, because they all firmly believe that.
It's kind of like meetings, right? A lot of people say that about meetings.
But
this show.
Yeah.
But every kid in our program firmly believes that huddles are absolutely pointless. If I say huddle, "Hey, come here and huddle up," all the kids at practice, all the kids look at me like I'm crazy. Like, "What? We don't huddle, coach."
It's like you just showed them a dial-up phone.
It'd be like,
right.
They go to what do I
what?
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 They don't know. They don't know how to huddle. They don't know how.
Right? No, they really don't. That's the thing.
I don't know what to do with my hands. Like Ricky Bobby.
And I was talking because our goal is to snap the ball every 15 to 20 seconds. Because our philosophy is, if I just gash you for a 40-yard play and I take 40 seconds of the play clock to run the next play, well, you just had 40 seconds to figure out what just happened stress-free.
Yeah, and catch your breath too.
Plus, they can't sub guys in and out as efficiently.
Yeah. So
you're doing very Chip Kelly type
stuff.
Yep.
So as soon as the play's done, I'm instantly, boom, here's the formation, go. And the kids know exactly how to line up to the formation. And then I can hand single my, my play, my concept, my protections, all that kind of stuff, motions within probably 3 seconds of hand signals. And the kids are all lined up. Boom, we're going.
Oh my God. You don't have the sideline with guys holding up a big thing.
No.
Fire
Nope.
hydrant and a green dot and stuff.
Big
like
Mac,
Nope.
Burger
Yeah,
King,
yeah,
Taco
yeah.
Bell,
No.
No.
Well,
Omaha.
well, so the thing is, like, so if my philosophy is, if you want to figure it out, you're either going to A, call a timeout, or B, wait till after we score.
Good point.
But you're
right.
not going to figure it out while I'm on the field. You can figure it out later.
Right.
Nice.
And people didn't think that was going to be able to happen because of COVID, and the kids weren't. It's not going to work. The kids aren't going to get it.
This is just like Hoosiers. What are you
Right.
talking about? I mean,
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a modern day Hoosiers. You're right, Mike. Not to put it like Cros-Lex is small. I mean,
it's just
you interviewed with 15 people. That's like being in the barber shop with everybody.
You mean the barbershop with Lance Campbell? I do that too.
Yeah, with Lance. Lance is a good boy. He's a good man too. So, but yeah. So I mean, you guys get all the the ideas of that, and then you go up there and Cros-Lex football is like the show,
Right.
and then and the thing is now it's coming down to, okay, here's your first. Oh, now we have a dilemma. And then you get your quarterback in Townsend. He's the Jimmy Chickwood of the whole of the whole group, and everybody kind of buys into what you're doing, and finally gets into it. And
it took a second for us to get there, though.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, but it's like Herman, like the guy from when Denzel Washington he goes, it's like Novocaine. Give it some chance to work, and it'll work out fine.
Right. Now, in the first game, we were playing Imlay City, and it was 14-12. And we go to we go to halftime. Our halftime's outside because we can't go in the buildings because all the rules and stuff like that.
Plus, it's a million miles away anyway.
Right. So we're trying to figure things out. And I kind of because Imlay City came out in an odd front. And, our kids, you don't see too many, for us, we didn't see too many odd fronts on their film. So we're like, okay, what are we going to do here? So I make, I sat there and I make a couple adjustments. I turn around, I go, if we can do these adjustments, we will score 50 points. I promise you. And the kids all looked at me like, what? And I was like, if we make these adjustments, we will score 50 points. So the score was 52-12 at the end of the game.
Wow.
And the kids instantly, boom, bought in. Just like that. I said it because I can adjust. I'm great at making adjustments. And the simple adjustment was, well, they have, too many in the box. They're trying to put 7. We only had 5 linemen and a running back, so that's bad numbers. It's 6 on 7. We're losing every single time. Put a fullback, or not fullback, put a tight end into the game, who was a kid who never played football into his senior year, Nolan Duran, who was a great athlete at Croswell. And he has one of the better games of his short career, blocking for us. And Vincent Scarmazzino did not play the entire first half because he didn't even know he was going to play football until we came back out for football. So he was kind of getting back into the swing of things. I had another kid that was getting a lot of reps. He runs 15 times for 137 yards and 3 touchdowns in the second half, and was like, boom, there it was. And every kid's like, oh, here we go. We're going to roll with it. We go to, then the week 2, we go to Richmond. And at that time, Croswell hasn't beaten Richmond, I think in 10 years or something like that at that point. And it's their homecoming. It's their first, they're dedicating the field to
John.
No, this was the year before. John Coker was there. John Coker just went back into the hospital. So they're dedicating the game to Coach Coker. Because, they're like, oh, we're, that kind of, it was their last home game. It was senior night, homecoming, all that thrown into one. And no one's allowed in the stadium, right? Besides mom and dad and, whoever else. And outside the stadium was a whole bunch of people because you couldn't be in the stadium, but nothing said you couldn't be lined up around the fence around it. So their entire student section is just in the parking lot and the one end zone opposite of the scoreboard. And that's where we're warming up. And you can just hear them talking all kinds of garbage at us, just letting us have it. And I bring the kids in And I go, no one here respects you. No one thinks it goes. They think it's just another year. They're going to beat Cros-Lex by 50 and they're going to move on with their life. I go, you're just a road bump. You're just a speed bump in their season. I go, you're going to
you're roadkill.
Right. We're going to go out there and we got to go earn our respect. And we sat there and we end up hitting Jake Townsend got, went out. Or actually, no, the game started off horribly. I fumbled the ball. We fumbled the ball like the first play of the game and we turned it over. We get a 3-and-out, we punt it. We get the third down, and we called. Actually, it's the same play we called when the Central Malcolm game when I was at Clio. So I just called like a 4, the Madden
4 verticals.
Yeah. Let's see what happens. Jake, scrambles to his right. He's left-handed, so this is going to be a hard throw. Throws it across his body like he shouldn't. Just gives
across
it everything.
The middle.
Yeah, just gives it what he has. Isaac Lerma catches it, makes one juke, and it's 80 yards to the house.
Nice.
The entire sideline absolutely just blows up. Like we got 3 flags on that field because we had 4 kids run to the end zone because they couldn't believe that we were just going to swing haymakers at them all day.
Right.
And we won that game 36-0. Went to the sideline and went to the end zone where we warmed up, and I made it a point to make sure my voice was projecting towards the parking lot.
Yes.
And
Awesome.
I said something along those lines like, that's how you earn respect. Now everyone's on notice. And
Love
then
it.
we went to North Branch. We were supposed to play. Oh, who was it? Almont next.
Yep.
And Almock had a COVID issue, so that game got canceled. So we're like, well, we only get 6 games as it is, and I want to try to find another game. So Marlette was looking for a game, so I called Marlette, and I was like, hey, you guys are open, we're open. We live in the same county. This makes sense. And they're like, nope, we don't want to.
They didn't want to lose.
No, because they don't want to be bitch slapped.
And so I was like, he goes, well, who do you want to play? And I was like, well, we don't play North Branch. Well, who does North Branch play? Well, they play Algonac. We'll play Algonac. You can play North Branch. So there's a picture of Joe Dumars like making a bunch of trades where he has like 3 phones like on his ear. And that was essentially me in my classroom trying to figure this out. Like I'm texting with one phone, I'm calling my AD on my school phone, and I'm sending I'm zooming somebody else like this.
Jesus, it's Billy Bean from Moneyball.
And I'm just trying to get a game, and we make it happen. And if you guys know that year, that was supposed to be North Branch's year. That was with their studs. So we go out there week 3 of the program, and we get out there and we get smacked in the mouth. Boom, instantly 14-0. We go into halftime 14-0. We're letting the kids all have that look on their face like they're defeated. And I just walk in there and I just raise absolute hell during I told you what's going to happen. If you want to play in championship games, you're going to get punched in the mouth. It's what's going to happen. And I go, you now have a half of championship football experience. I go, that's hard to come by. You can't replicate that in anything. You now know what that feels like. And we go into the second half, kick off, score fast. Get a stop, score fast again. Now it's essentially tied. They go down and they score again. And so they're up by a touchdown. And now we're just going back and forth with it. And Sage Slanik, I think that game had, 10 catches for 130 yards and, all that kind of stuff. And just was absolutely playing out of his mind. They couldn't defend the pass. And I didn't want to say Jake threw about 40 passes that game. And we got a stop. We got an onside kick. Got an onside kick after we scored one of our last times. So I think it's like 20-26, I think it was at that time. And Zach Sargent, who's playing at Madonna University, four-year starter in the program, goes in and just completely, like I said, with the kid from Clio, just runs through this kid's face. Pops up, lands into one of our other kids' hands, and the entire sideline is losing their mind. And back in my brain, I go, holy crap, it's happening again. That's all I was thinking. Like, it's going to happen again. So we start march now. We're moving the field. We had 3 plays that were completely busted coverage, wide open, fingertips, just
Oh.
overthrown. And so it's 4th down. There's like 30 seconds left or whatever. So we go out there and we just like, you know what? This is give it what we got. Jake extends the play, chucks it downfield. Isaac Lerma loses it in the lights, it looked like on film, and hits him right in the thigh. And while he's in the end zone, no one around him. And so we're like, okay, we get the best shot. I told them like we got, the game was done. I huddled the kids up. And the first thing I told the kids was that I apologized. I apologized that I wasn't ready for a championship level game because it was my 3rd game as a head football coach. I didn't know how to react to one of those because I haven't been in many of those myself as a coach. I didn't know how to, like, I let the moment get to me at times, and sometimes that happens because you got to get used to it. And I apologize. I go, guys, there was times I didn't know what to call. I took 30 seconds of play calls sometimes. That's not what we do. I go, that is my fault and I will be better. And I think that moment really like resonated with the kids. Like, holy crap, our coach actually takes ownership of his mistakes, not, deflects it to somebody else. And I'm really big on owning your mistakes and getting better from them. And then the next week, unfortunately, Algonac was in the way. We won, I think, 62-6 against Algonac. And then we played after Algonac, I think it was Armada. We won like 40-6. Then we played DL. That was a 56-6 game. And then we played. And so like that was the regular season. Boom, 2nd place. No one even thought that was even going to happen. Then we played a playoff game, won a playoff game. And then we had our chance to go play North Branch again for the 2nd round of playoffs. And we're like, here we go. I have actual film on North Branch against a passing team. We can do this. I have this great game plan. Probably one of the better game plans I had. 3 hours before kickoff, about 4 kids got quarantined.
Ugh.
And one of them was Jake.
Sat next to the wrong kid in class.
Bullshit.
So
Thanks, COVID.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there and I'm trying to game plan like instantly because our next quarterback wasn't a thrower. He was a power running quarterback. I mean, he was my starting linebacker. So, go ahead and use your imagination on that one. And I looked at him, I go, we can win with you. I promise you we can win. It just comes down to if we can completely change our game plan because we didn't practice anything for powers or anything like that because that wasn't in the cards for us because that fell into their strong suit on defense because they're used to stopping power stuff all day because that's what they ran. So I remember we're like into the 2nd drive of the game and our quarterback Joey Knoll is vomiting on the sideline because he was the long snapper, he was the wedge buster essentially on kickoff, he was on he was on everything. Problem is we didn't have enough time to take him off anything because we were literally making adjustments on the bus. And we lost 36-0. And once again, apologize to the kids. I'm like, I'm sorry, guys. Like, I will be better. I will get better at this. I go, you seniors, thank you for making putting the program in a better place than what you found it. I go, you are the foundation to what this program is about to be. And when you come back in a year, 2, 3, 10 years from now, you're going to smile when you see what this program is because you started this. And we came back the next year, actually had a full summer, allowed me to actually install my passing game with 7-on-7s. And our first game does not go well to start off. We played Williamston. If you guys know anything about Williamston, they were
Marine City's had a couple run-ins with them.
Williamston was in the state semifinals the year before. Lost to Country Day, I think by a touchdown. I think it was. So really good football program over there. And we kick off the game kicks off, and all of a sudden we're down 20 points or 14 points, 20 points, so like 3 scores. Jake threw 2 picks. One was a pick 6, and then fumbled the ball in 3 straight drives.
Oof.
I walk over to him, and he looks like he's just in shock, I guess is the best. Like, obviously, that's not how you think your senior year is going to open up as.
Sure.
And I look at him, I go, Jake, I want to tell you one thing, and it's your decision. You either need to figure this out within the next 2 drives, or I'm moving on. And he just looked at me like, what? I go, I have a sophomore who I have for 3 more years, or I have you for 8 more games. I go, it's your decision. You'll figure it out. And he goes out the next play and boom, breaks off like an 80-yard run to kind of get us out from our own end zone, throws a touchdown pass. And I was like, see, you can play football. It's okay. But we had to have that real talk. He was like, he just thought it was just going to happen, which is not a Jake Townsend thing to happen. But it was one of those things where, like, we were all kind of feeling ourselves all summer thinking it was just going to happen. And I told them all, like, we needed that humbling to happen.
All right.
All of us did.
So let me ask you this, Mike. Now that he's gone and now you've gotten your feet wet, you've gotten full practices in, and you're doing the 7 and 7s this year. And so, like, why don't you give us just a preview of what's going to be, what we should expect to see from Cros-Lex football team this year?
Yeah, talk a little bit too, Mike, about your athletes. We want to feature a couple of athletes, so a couple of your stars.
Well, one that you probably don't know so much because he's an offensive lineman is Joey Ramsey. He was a day 1 starter for me as a freshman. My first year, his first day on varsity was my first day on varsity at Cros-Lex. And he has been what I would call my project. When I had him, he was a 6 foot, probably 220-pound left guard that we kind of molded into him. Now he's standing 6'3", about 285, strongest kid in the program. Bench presses about 335, squats close to 5, deadlifts about 5. I mean, we're talking like kid has completely just lived in the weight room for the past 3 years. And he's going to be special. He is completely unmovable on defense. He is I've coached a lot of all-state offensive linemen, and he may be one of the best that I've had. Like, for example, Matt Lyons I had last year, 6'4", 300-pound kid going to Concordia, was first team AP all-state, and Matt's really, really good. Joey is light years ahead of him.
Wow.
And he's a junior or a senior this year?
He's a junior, so he's going to his 3rd year of varsity football.
Wow.
Yeah.
Another one that you guys may need to know about is I'll start with all of the guys that are 3-year guys coming back. I have Benny Mendoza, who is my center and the other defensive tackle. He's going to be a third year starter for us.
What's his stats, size, and weight?
He's about 5'11", about 260. Our offensive line averages about 6'1", 250 pounds right now. Not as big as what we were last year. We averaged about 265, 270 last year on the offensive line, but that's because we had Matt Lyons at 315 pounds. So that kind of skews things a little bit.
Yeah. He's an outlier that.
Right. Yes. Another one that you guys probably need to know about would be Drew Hosterman. He's a wide receiver for us. He came on strong late last year. He was a running back his sophomore year. Was kind of like one of those mid-year call-ups because one of our running backs kind of got hurt, so he was one of our guys that we called up, and then kind of didn't really. His body transformed. He wasn't a running back body anymore, so we switched him to slot receiver and had a huge coming out party during the second half of his junior year. I can actually pull up his stats.
So he's a senior this year. Is he going to be probably your go-to number 1 receiver? Obviously.
The problem is
Speed.
it's
He's got speed.
all my receivers have speed. That's the one thing that we do have. We had Sage Slanik last year that caught 50 balls for like 900 yards and like I think he had 13 touchdowns. I don't think we're going to have a Sage, but we're going to have probably 4 or 5 receivers who will all catch 20 to 30 balls and probably
You'll
all have
platoon it instead
Yeah.
of have that. Yeah.
and I almost think that might be it's harder to defend that way. You can't
Oh, sure, absolutely.
I'm pulling up Gavin or his stats right now because now I can't remember off the top of my head and it's going to bother me. But he had a really big game against who was it? St. Clair for the district championship game. Caught a bunch of balls over the middle. He's one of those guys that if you give him the ball in space, he's going to take off with it. Also, he's going to be probably a lockdown corner for us as well. Just overall great athlete. Last year he had receiving. Where'd you go? Hosterman. He had 13 catches, 335 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And that was all.
How many guys are you going to dress out average week to week? About
40.
40.
We got about 80 in the program right now.
Okay. And who's going to be under center for you this year?
It'll probably be Gavin Espinoza for us. Jake and Gavin are cut from the same cloth. Gavin was up as a sophomore last year. He was a free safety and wide receiver for us. Got in some, garbage time quarterback here and there too.
Yeah.
Had I think was it 9 carries, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. He caught another 14 passes for 330 yards and 3 touchdowns. He had a punt return for a touchdown. He led the team in interceptions with 4. And his interception. Go ahead.
What makes him the guy to be under center? What qualities? I mean, is it the leadership? Is he the passing ability, the athleticism? Why does he get the nod, do you think? What makes
Probably
him...
all the above.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if he has all the above, that's great. But is he stronger in some suits than others? Was it just that he was going to be the next? You knew going into next year he was going to be the guy, or did you have to figure this out?
See, here's the great thing about this is that when we were talking about like, hey, do we move Gavin up or down or keep on JV? What do we do with him?
Yeah,
I asked this with all the kids that is that kid going to get any better playing JV football? If the answer is no,
then
we instantly bring him up.
Yeah,
and we do what we call the over here called the baptism by fire. So every program has that tweener. They're kind of too good for JV, but they're not quite good enough to crack the starting lineup.
Yeah.
So now high school football in Michigan allows the 5th quarter rule. So you're allowed to play 5 quarters in a week. We baptize a lot of kids with fire.
Right,
with
bring them up for the game for
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but Gavin was a day 1 starter as a sophomore for us. Just walked in because we needed a free safety.
Yeah.
And he was athletic enough to play free safety. Gavin's probably a starting quarterback for any other. If Jake was a senior the year before and he graduated, Gavin probably was our starting quarterback as a sophomore. The only thing is that he didn't know how to read defenses yet. He still just like, in JV, I'm just going to throw it as far as I can. And our kid, hopefully we'll run faster than everybody else and we're just going to catch it kind of deal.
Yeah.
Right. Him playing defense allowed him to understand how defenses worked and, where the holes and zones are. And, if you have motion and teams bump this way, if the middle of the field's open or middle field's closed or the middle field's empty, what that means for coverages and how many, how many people can potentially come from this side. Where's the passing strength? Where's not the passing strength? Stuff like that. Kind of, he now understands. He now knows where the holes in the zone are, where receivers will sit, and this, all that kind of stuff. And with all those reps we got from 7-on-7s, it's really started to click. He has a stronger arm than Jake. Like when he throws the ball, it looks effortless. It looks really pretty. And our receivers are fast enough to go run by anybody and go get it.
Okay, let's say you get in a situation like you did last year and your starter goes down.
So
what do we do in a backup situation? Who do you got?
So the backup there would be Nick Monzo. And the crazy thing about Nick Monzo last year on the JV team threw 25 touchdowns and zero interceptions.
Wow.
So
you have some depth this year.
We are good
at the quarterback.
quarterback
You
position.
learn
Yes.
from that one. Yeah.
Yes.
How's the running back core look like? What do you guys doing for running back?
The one that we have coming back, his name is Belly Groppy. We call him Belly. His name's Gabriel, but we all call him Belly. He was not our day one starter last year as a sophomore. He played as a sophomore, but it took him about 3 games to kind of get back into it, kind of deal. He didn't play his freshman year,
Right.
and so we were
Big
kind of
bruiser or speed. What's his
combination. He might be he's special.
He's
Yeah,
big and strong and fast.
He's probably about 170 pounds probably right now. He's
Yeah.
probably the strongest kid I've ever met pound for pound. Like, he's an all-state power lifter. I want to say he weighs, like I said, I think he lifted at 165 pounds, and he lifts, I think, like close to 7 pounds per pound he weighs.
Wow.
He was the reason we beat Armada. And we beat Armada last year. That was our conference championship game. He had 37 carries for like 4 touchdowns and 205 yards.
That's a lot of carries.
Wow. Well, it was a mud bowl. So we won a game without completing a pass. And that's because Belly Groppy ran the ball for 37 times for 230.
Yep, Brady mentioned that on the show.
Yeah, he did. I remember that.
Did.
Yeah. Well, how did he fumble the ball at all?
No.
Sure hand.
No.
Yeah. Just
my brother is the running backs coach, and he makes ball security a point every day.
Yeah.
And like, we have a rule. Our running backs aren't allowed to wear sleeves at all. No, nothing that goes below the elbow. So, you see all these kids that want to wear like the half sleeve or whatever. Well, if that gets wet, it's coming out. There's nothing to grip onto.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of that. We think of all the small weird stuff that kind of goes into play with that kind of stuff. But last year he had, let me pull, where is he at?
So so would you say you call a lot of belly options or what?
No, he might be the best zone block or zone running back I've had, because he can cut once and he's gone. He had 133 carries last year for 824 yards and 14 touchdowns on the ground.
Wow.
And he didn't really play at all until like week 4 of last year.
Wow. That's impressive.
What's the tight ends look like? You got a pair of tight ends?
Yeah, we graduated a good one last year. Logan Selecki. He was about 6'4", about 200 pounds. Caught about 10, 12 balls last year. Didn't score any touchdowns, but he was a big chain mover for us. We have 2 coming back. One is Brandon Bittner. He's about 6'3", fairly strong, really bought into the weight room. One of the stronger kids in our program. Good pass catcher, learning how to block a little bit. He's a kid that we transitioned from the outside receiver into tight end.
Yeah.
And then the other one we have is Sam Vanderby, who is standing at about 6'9", 265 pounds.
Damn.
Yeah.
Jesus, really?
Yep. His first year at Cros-Lex was last year. He's a transfer from I want to say somewhere in the Utica area.
Yeah.
And he came in at 6'7", he's 6'9" now.
Wow.
He played basketball this past year for the first time, and it's really helped him athletically speaking. So it doesn't look like he's playing karate with the ball when it comes at him anymore.
All right.
We remember somebody like that, don't we, Fred?
Oh God, we had a 6'10" kid that we played with. He played football, but he played basketball too, and he couldn't dunk.
At 6'10", oh my God, that's horrible.
Yes.
Right. And so we're hoping that we can get him in the red zone area and just be like, hey, just go get the rebound, buddy.
Yep.
And we're hoping that makes teams have to put 2 or 3 kids on him, which is going to then open it up for everybody else.
Right. So Mike, hey, let's jump over to this real quick. Why don't you give us who you play this year in your schedule, and then we'll kind of figure it out. From after that, we're going to close up the show here. But I just want to know who you guys are playing and how you feel about going into this year.
Let's see. First, we open up with Swan Valley out in Saginaw. That's a school that I know very, very well. Freeland, because Freeland and Swan Valley are big rivals.
Right.
So I said, hey, let's make that happen, and we did. Also, a history lesson there. The last two teams that Cros-Lex has lost to in the regional finals in football, Swan Valley and our week 9 opponent Freeland. Both
Oh,
of those teams,
your alma mater.
yeah, both very unique situation. Coaching at your old head coach, by the way. That was odd and weird, and I was on the opposing sideline of my own high school. Very very surreal feeling for sure. But yeah, we opened up with Swan Valley. I know them rather well. We're playing in Saginaw. That's a team that was, I want to say, 6-5 last year. Known for their run game. They're a big time power running school. I mean, since I was in high school, they've had one kid go to college at running back like every year for like since 2004. And it's just been a dude after dude after dude at that position. So I think their running back this year, if I remember correctly, is about 6'1", 215. He's going to be a load to try to bring down. So we'll see how that works. They have a sophomore quarterback who started as a freshman. So we'll see. I know back when they were going to the state, when they were in the state finals about 4 or 5 years ago, they're more that traditional spread look. But I know the OC is no longer there, and their O-line coach is now the head coach at John Glenn. So it's been a little bit of a staff mix-up, but the head coach is still there.
Right.
And at his roots, he's been at Swan Valley for a while. At his roots, he is a tight end with a flanker, 2 fullbacks, running back, power eye kind of guy. And I expect more of the same this upcoming year. We start league play with Richmond.
At home?
No, at Richmond.
At Richmond.
A little tidbit about that is that our varsity has not given up a point to Richmond since I've been there, or since I've been here. We went 36-0 my first year, then 56-0 my second year.
All right, get on DraftKings. So who do you got week 3, Mike?
Armada, and that's gonna
be a tough one.
That'll be some tough ones. Yeah. That's our first home game of the year.
Nice.
So that'll be nice. They were in second place last year. We were in first place last year. So it's going to be one of those like, hey, let's hit the ground running there. Next, after that, we have Algonac at Algonac. Always hard going to the swamp.
Yeah.
Because, let's see, that's in September 16th. I'm sure it'll be hot and muggy and mosquitoes will be everywhere.
Oh yeah.
So you ain't kidding.
So that's always a challenge. They got a new head coach. It's their coach is from he's been at Algonac before, but he's taken a break in between when he was there and when he is there now. Yeah. I want to say when he was there, like Algonac went to the state semifinals a couple of times, while he was on staff there. So he's there again. From what I know, they'll probably run more triple option stuff, which is always a challenge. I mean, I always joke around, like, if you don't have athletes, run triple option, but once you find out that you have athletes, like Frankenmuth, the triple option is impossible to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So week 5, you got
that team from the town next over. We don't discuss their name very often around here, but they're a dog.
The dogs.
Yep. So we don't discuss. Joey Ramsey would not appreciate if I called them out by their town name, so I'm not going to. The team to the southwest, if you will.
There you go.
So
I think we all know who you mean.
That's always a fun one. There's a trophy on the line every year for it, the helmet trophy. It is sitting in the football office right now on display. I don't plan on hopefully that leaving anytime soon. Nice. It's always, those games are always fun. It's always a unique situation too, because their head coach there is a Cros-Lex grad, so there's always a little extra incentive there. It's fun.
I didn't hear, was that home or away that game?
That is at their place at that city park by the river.
Okay.
Next up, it would be home against Almont. That will be our homecoming game.
Okay. That's another tough game, right, Fred?
Yeah, it usually is. Yeah.
I mean, they
got a coaching staff that you can't even pronounce half their names.
Coach Bluesby's got it rolling over there.
He does. He usually does.
You got a tough schedule.
Yeah, yes, we do, and that's by design.
Yeah, that's a tough schedule.
Then we're home the next week against Emily City.
Okay.
I have a question I heard that Emily City doesn't have a varsity this year.
I've actually heard that the Algonac may not have a varsity. I heard that Emily City will have a varsity, not a JV. That's what I've heard.
Okay.
They also have a new coach, Coach Brown. I want to say he coached at Oxford for a while. He was also at Troy Athens. I have a buddy of mine that teaches at Troy Athens. I already know a lot about Coach
Yeah,
Brown.
my
and what
dad
he
was the
does.
first football coach ever at Troy Athens.
Oh, wow.
Aren't you impressed?
A little bit of trivia there, huh? The Troy
But
Athens connection.
I have a lot of weird connections. So if there's something I can get filmed rather quickly.
What about Central Michigan?
We have a running joke on
It's
this
a
show
running joke, Mike. Just
because Fred mentions it every episode. So
Yeah. I mean, he'll just randomly sometimes. Central Michigan. We don't know.
One of my college teammates is a coach at CMU. So
there you go.
Oh, there you go. Comes up in every
so
show.
fire up chips.
Yep, fire up chips.
Then week 8 is the game to be at North Branch.
Nice.
At
Oh,
North Branch.
Man,
And
you're playing a lot of games away, brother.
Yeah, you are.
It is what it is.
Holy mackerel.
So that game is, people are calling that the quote unquote conference championship game. Everyone's marking that one. Everyone's predicting us to be 1-2, whatever. You can take what you want with that. That's to me, that's a rivalry game.
Oh yeah.
That's going to be a doozy one. That was a good game with us last year. Actually, it was Gavin Espinoza stealing the game on defense with 2 picks, and Jake Townsend stealing the game with a 65-yard completely audible ad-lib, did it on himself, quarterback scramble himself.
Nice.
And
schoolyard play.
Oh my, like
Michael Vick.
No, well, the thing is though, like if you watch some of our film, you'll sit there and you'll see him look at me because we don't talk. We just hand signal. And he looks at me and he'll hand signal something to me, and I'm like, yeah, go ahead. And he audibles. He asks, like, can I do, like, he'll sit there and audible stuff or check with me and be like, can I do this? Yes, go ahead. And that's why sometimes Sage Slanik would sit there and randomly just get a game where he has 4 touchdown catches because he's able to see how teams are playing them and then adjust instantly.
Nice.
What are you doing to build out that coaching staff? Like, it's, that's how Marine City does it. They have a pipeline of guys behind it. So when you get done, there'll be someone that has your culture behind you. Are you setting your staff up to look guys just like you?
I mean, I kind of inherited the staff that I was here because obviously I try to get some guys to come with me, but that's a bit of a hike down 46, which, by the way, a very boring drive.
You're not kidding.
Yeah.
But it's a lot better sometimes than driving 69, that's for sure.
Oh, right. Yeah. It beats traffic and potholes.
Yes.
But for my staff, it is me. Obviously, I also call our staff actually is set up uniquely. We don't have a JV or varsity staff. We have an offensive and defensive staff. We coach both.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because there are JV coaches. Like I was one of them that just coach for the result. They don't coach the process.
Yeah.
So as long as you got to block that guy and let's move on. Well, how do you block the guy? How do you step? How do you use your hands? How do you do this? How do you do that? Where
you mean coaching?
Yeah. So young coaches or JV coaches just tend to just be like, hey, I don't care. You got the result. Let's move on with our lives. Well, all of us at Cros-Lex coach our JV kids probably harder, if not as hard as our varsity kids. And they're being taught the process to the result, not the result. We're about developing at the JV program, and winning is a happy byproduct of development. So much so that we haven't lost a game in the JV program since I've been here.
Fantastic. Well, Mike, I'll tell you what, Mike, it looks like you got your stuff dialed in.
Yeah.
You got a program that is not only been a solid program in the past, but now it's even going to move up another level and another level after that. And we really look forward to watching your team play, because Mike and I usually when Marine City's not playing, we will travel and go watch some games. So we'll definitely come up and watch you guys play. And we wish you the best of luck this year. And we hope we can have you on the show maybe either sometime during the year, maybe midway, or just before the playoffs, when you guys are wherever you're selected to play, and we'll talk a
After
little
you
bit
kick
about
the
that.
shit out of North Branch, let's have you on.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we make that happen. They got a lot of kids coming back, man. And when you have a 4-year starter at quarterback, that's always tough to try to work against. So
Yep.
we'll see how
right,
it
buddy.
goes.
Well, hey, we really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on tonight. And hey, guys, just as a reminder, we're on Facebook, the Idiot Circle, as well as on YouTube. Sign up as a subscriber. Give us a thumbs up or down. We'll have some shows coming up next week. We got Dave Vandenbosch and Jeff Bohm coming on to do for the Battle of the Bands, and then we got Coach Larry Rollins from Port Huron Northern on Wednesday. So, Mike, hey, again, thanks and good luck to you guys up there, and we wish you the best and good health with your players.
All right, thanks, guys. And if you have nothing going on Saturday, we have our blue-white game at noon at Pioneer Stadium. So,
there you go.
Oh,
Get
nice.
out and watch the blue-white game, huh?
Yep.
That's
All right.
cool.
Cool.
Yeah. Good
All
luck
right.
in the season, Coach.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate
Good
you.
luck. Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Yep.
See ya.